All right, taking a look at some other results across the league. It's the Bills edging one out over the Baltimore Ravens, 23-20. That final game-winning drive there set up by an ill-advised throw by Lamar Jackson, an interception in the end zone. Red zone giveaway leads to a drive down the field, and the Bills kicking a game-winning field goal as time expires. It's their first win in a one-score game since the start of last season. All right, let's break it down from the booth with our friend and yours, Charles Davis, who had the pleasure of calling this one. Always doing a great job with the NFL on CBS. Charles, unbelievable game that we saw here, and feels like an early season watershed moment for the Bills. It only goes down as one tally in the win column, but just how big of a moment was this? Coming up off the weather in Miami and more weather here in this one. What'd you learn about the Bills today?
Joe, let's throw all of that in there that you just talked about, because remember, the weather in Miami was 100 degrees on the field, give or take, right? They ran 90 plays on offense and didn't win the game. Went up and down the field. They were 40 minutes on ball control. Almost 500 yards total offense, but they're only 2 for 4 in the red zone, end up losing a ball game 21-19. Fast forward, I thought in the first half there was still some effects from Miami trying to get themselves back. It took a little bit out of them. Right before the half, they go down the field and they score, get themselves back in the game, and elevate it from that point on. But to me, the bigger one was the little bit of a demon they carried into this game, Joe, which was they, from the start of 2021, in one-score games, they were 0-7. Any game that was more than a one-score game when they were 14-1. That, after a while, people call you front runners. That's the last thing you want to be called in this league. This was monstrous for them. And by the way, after the game, Josh Allen told my colleague Evan Washburn, because he asked about tight games, he said, "We're now 1-8, 1-7 in our, 1-8 now, right?" See, he even knew the record, so that was a big deal for Buffalo.
Something weighing on Buffalo, and maybe something they get off their shoulders here on Sunday. It's going to be a long week of preparation for Lamar Jackson after that late game INT. What'd you see out of Lamar here in this game? He's looked fantastic throughout the year, but it's a costly interception that eventually cost him the game.
Yeah, it was a tough interception. Listen, let's talk about Lamar in total. He is playing very good football, and they keep expanding what they ask him to do and what they put on his plate. Joe, throughout this game, they're doing more and more him under center with dropbacks, play actions, the running game. So it's not just him and gun all the time or him and pistol. Under center now gives them an extra dimension to do some more things. They got J.K. Dobbins back. Justice Hill to run the ball, though Justice Hill got hurt late in the ball game. That helps him because now everything isn't a run by Lamar, even called. Now it can be more of those off-schedule plays. But bottom line is, for him, that late interception on 4th down, many are going to go back and go, why didn't you just kick the field goal there? Well, I understand that because it's a legitimate conversation piece. Kick the field goal, go up 3 and see what happens. I think that John Harbaugh, the head coach, had Josh Allen in his head at that point. What I mean by that is the way Buffalo was going up and down the field in the second half, I felt like he thought 3 points weren't going to be enough to win the game. He needed 6. Yeah, he threw the late interception, but the guy was wide open. He just got to him late, and Jordan Poyer made a heck of a play.
These are 2+ ball clubs right now that wouldn't be surprised to see meeting later on come playoff time. But, Charles, as you assess what we've seen from this Bills team that came into the season with such high expectations, where do you feel you've learned the most about the Bills through the first quarter of this season, and are they meeting that expectation?
Toughness, grit, determination, all the things coaches talk about, all things they're preaching. The word grit has really made its way around the league, hasn't it? Since Pete Carroll met with Alexandra Duckworth and had the book Grit. It's everywhere now. Well, it's here in Buffalo, and it's exemplified by what we saw here today. Down big, came back, got it done, had been 0-7 in one-score games, gave away one in Miami that they thought that they should have carried home with them. And by the way, that secondary's been decimated. All right, they've had nothing but injuries. They were playing with Jamarcus Ingram for a while, who made the team off of a tryout. He wasn't even invited. It was almost like Vince Papale had somehow made the ball club. Somehow they found a way to play with those guys and weather the storm. And now they feel like they've got a chance to elevate, even though all of them aren't back. These guys are getting more and more comfortable. They believe they can play and beat anyone. As for Baltimore, that's 2 big leads at home that they've blown already this year. They've got to find a way to put that behind them and go back to being the Baltimore Ravens.
That they do. It is a pair of picks for Jordan Poyer, who was a notable omission last week in the loss in Miami, but he's the addition here and decides the game in some ways. Charles Davis coming up big for us out of the booth. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Take care, Joe.
All right, nobody better in the business than our CD. We will talk with him throughout the week as he lets you know what's going to happen before it happens. We appreciate you, Charles, and we appreciate these types of performances as well. Josh Allen, 213, touchdown, interception. It doesn't necessarily blow your hair back when what we're expecting from Josh Allen throughout the year, but got the job done, orchestrated the drive. 25 fantasy points will leave you resting your head on the pillow. Pretty good. You know, we want 30 out of Josh. It's just what we want. Lamar Jackson going to need to do better for fantasy managers across the board. 14 points total and a big INT that docks you some points late in this one. Devin Singletary, that's sort of what the seasons look like. 49 rushing yards, 4 receptions for another 47. So 10 fantasy points is about where he's lived there or below throughout the season. J.K. Dobbins does get in with those 2 touchdowns that saves his scores down around 22 points. Stephon Diggs with his quietest day of the season. All right, Tyler Sullivan, Ryan Wilson in the mix here to talk about this one as well. Tyler, I'm going to go your way on this game because I think we could read into a lot of what we saw, the way that Buffalo responded here after getting punched in the mouth early in the game and last week in Miami to rally from behind and win this game. Tells you what about them right now?
Yeah, no, that this team can finally win a close game. That's what you're looking for with the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, we know the talent, we know the ceiling of what they can do offensively. But going even back to that game last year against Kansas City where there was 13, 14 seconds left, you just don't know if they're able to win it when it gets that tight. And you saw that in this game a little bit here as well. Obviously down 20-3. It didn't seem like it was going to be a good game for them. Josh Allen had that early interception. And then all of a sudden they surged their way back and kind of finding ways to win other than just blowing doors offensively. So for me, that's the most encouraging thing because this is the closest thing you're going to get to playoff football right now. You're talking about a Baltimore Ravens team that has an MVP caliber quarterback in Lamar Jackson who's playing absolutely out of his mind. It's cold, it's damp in Baltimore, and they're able to come out with a win here. So for me, it's proving that they can actually win those nitty-gritty games when it comes to December and January.
Yeah, a very intense last 120 minutes of football for these Bills who will, with all due respect to Pittsburgh, get a little bit of a breath of fresh air next week before taking on the Chiefs and the Packers. And there is only one place to be to converse on it all. That's our guys on the Pick Six podcast, bringing you all the latest news and notes across the league each and every day, including a Sunday wrap-up you can't miss. Join me in the comments on the Pick Six pod.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.